In this tutorial, we'll teach you how to develop a machine learning model, such as the linear regression, so that you can deploy any other machine learning model because the process is always the same. After computing the machine learning model, we use it to calculate predictions. For example, here we are calculating a prediction that the table in the restaurant will tip you with $2.17. The question that we will answer in this tutorial is, how can we take the mathematical equation of the linear regression to a web application and use it to calculate predictions on the user input, like we are doing here? By developing this tutorial on your own, you will understand the basic idea of how companies around the world compute machine learning models and deploy the mathematical equations into applications to calculate predictions in real time or with the user input. Without further ado, let's get started. The first thing we do is loading the dataset, where every row represents one table in a restaurant, having characteristics such as the number of people that we have on the table, the tip that they gave, and the total bill, the amount of money they paid for the meal. We want to compute a machine learning model to calculate how much tip the table will give us. For example, if we are waiters, we'd like to know how much tip they will give us based on the number of people that we have on the table and the amount of money that they pay for the meal. The first step in machine learning is feature selection, which is from the dataset, select the variable that we would like to predict, the tip, and the variables that we will use to calculate the prediction, total bill and the size. It's very important that you select only two numerical features by now, because if you use more variables and one of them is categorical, you will overcomplicate the problem. So we select the target variable, the tip, to the y, and now the explanatory variable, the features, will be total bill and size. We save them into X. We have the data ready for machine learning computation, so from Scikit-Learn library, we import the linear regression, we define the model, and lately we access the function fit to compute the mathematical equation. Now it's time to think about taking this mathematical equation and place it into the web application. Let's create the web application in the app folder, 04 ml deployments basic.py. We open the terminal and run the Streamlit application, which is in the app folder, Streamlit run 04 ml deployment basic. In the application, we need a form for the user to input the data about the amount of money the table pays and the number of people they have on the table based on the feature variables that we used in the model, total bill and the size. To create the form, we use Streamlit library. Let's use a title for the application, title machine learning deployments, always rerun, to show the changes in the application as we save the file. Form to create the form that will be called user input. We need to use with, and now we need to ask for the user the input data. We'll first ask about the total bill, numeric input, that will be the total bill. We save it, and we see the form in the Streamlit application. In this warning, they tell us that we need to use the Streamlit submit button form. So we copy it, we paste it here, we define it as button. We save, and now we get the submit button in the form. The other input is the size, the number of people in the table, so number, we save it, and there we have the box in the form. If I click on submit, nothing happens because I haven't put anything in the code. To make something appear, I'd have to use if the button is clicked, I will put write button clicked, for example. We save it, now we click, and there we see the result. Instead of having the result in the same form, we can put it below the form, so we indent these lines to the left. Now we save it, we click on submit, and we see it below. Instead of using button clicked, we would like to have the prediction of the machine learning model. How would we pre-process the data when the user inputs the information that we have on the variables total bill and size? Let's develop the simulation in the code. For example, if we have total bill equals to 50 and the size equals to 5, those values would be given to the predict function, but first we need to build a small data frame with this information. We import pandas as PD, and now we construct the data frame with a dictionary with total bill and finally the size. If we execute the data frame like this, it will give us an error because we need a name on the row. Therefore, we use index to be equal to user. And there we have the user, the values 50 and 5. We save the data frame into a variable that we will call dfpred. We have it here. We will pass it to the function predict. We execute, and there we get the prediction of $6.26 that the table that pays $50 for the meal and are 5 people will tip to the service of the restaurant. To add more context in the prediction, let's take the value of the array, save it into a variable, prediction, and now use a format string to put the table will tip you with the prediction. To avoid these many decimals, we can round the solution to 2 decimals, and there we have a better text. Now we put the $sign and the period. Now all these lines of code should be passed into the Streamlit application, so we copy all of them in the Streamlit application. We paste it, indent accordingly. The pandas library can be imported at the top. We can save the text into a variable. We remove the print of the objects. The prediction is not necessary here. We save it. We click on submit, but we get an error. Name model LR is not defined. Where do we have model LR? In the notebook, which is the linear regression, the machine learning model that we should take and place it into the Streamlit application. To do so, we need to save the information, the data of this object into a Python file. To do so, we will create a folder. We call the folder pickles because the library that we will use to save the object is pickle. We import it. With open, we create a new file that we will call model.lr, and we dump the file. Dumping means that we save the object in the variable model.lr into the file model.lr.pkl. To put the model in the folder we created, we need to go one folder back in pickles. Now we execute, and we can see the model information in this file. How can we use the file of the machine learning model in the Streamlit application? We import the library pickle, and the same way before we wrote the file .v, now we read the file. Instead of using the function dump, we use the function load, and the name of the variable will be model LR. We save the file, we click on submit. Now we don't get any error, which indicates that the model computed the prediction that we have on the text, and now we display it by using the function stWrite text. We save it, now we click on submit, and there we have the solution. The table will tip you with $6.27. If we change the numbers, if we change the information in the form, for example, 3 people in the table, we submit again, and we have fewer amount of tip. In conclusion, the key idea of machine learning deployment is once you have the dataset in a Python notebook, you compute the mathematical equation, you save the mathematical equation into a file that later you will put into the Streamlit application with the Pickle library. You ask the user for the input with a form. When the button is clicked, you will construct the data frame and calculate the prediction to show it with a text. And those are the essential steps. Many companies, for example Amazon, don't show you the prediction of buying the next products. Instead, what they do is take the user input through the interactions that they perform on the website. And based on those interactions, they will construct a table to calculate predictions on which product you will buy next with a higher probability. These products will be shown to you anytime you go on Amazon, so that the chance to buy the product will be higher to make Amazon make more revenue. The same would happen, for example, with Spotify. As you interact with the songs, as you stay more time with certain genres of songs, the algorithm will learn which is your context that they will have in a table to calculate predictions on which songs you will like the most on your next iteration. As always, it's not enough by just watching the video and understanding the topic. You need to put in the practice. So go to the notebook folder, create a new file, call it 03ml custom problem, load some dataset that you have on your computer, you put it on the data folder and start developing the machine learning model. If you run out of ideas of datasets, you can also go to Seaborn library and load any dataset that you have on the library from this list. You can select, for example, penguins, you put it here, you have the data frame where every row represents one penguin, and you could, for example, predict the body mass based on 2 or 3 other numerical variables.